You know, you may have seen our next guest as part of that crew of the show Impractical Jokers, which puts people in some pretty awkward and hilarious situations. And now Joe Gatto is touring with a solo comedy show, and he's coming right here to West Michigan. And we welcome Joe Gatto in via Zoom to talk about that event. Hey, Joe, how are you?
Oh, fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing well. First off, can I just say, out of all of the crew of the Impractical Jokers, you're our favorite.
Well, it meant a great taste, clearly. I mean, we can tell by the setup. You got the lavender popping out. It's a nice touch of color, I got to tell you.
Can I also say that we told Murr the same thing? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know, but you only meant it once. You only meant it once.
Right. Let's talk about, for those who don't know about you and your crew, you do some pretty fun things, messing around with people out on YouTube. Can you let people know kind of where you're coming from if they haven't heard about Joe Gatto before?
Yeah. So I started my career with Impractical Jokers. Well, I started my career before that, but I started to pay the bills with Impractical Jokers, which is a hidden camera comedy show with my friends. And it was a great run on there. I did 10 years on that, a decade of my life, over 300 episodes of just dealing with the uncomfortable as best I can. And then I got through that. And then I started doing stand-up about 4 years ago. I had my first stand-up comedy tour, which was great, messing with people. And now I'm out with my new tour. Let's get into it, and that's what's coming through. It's great.
That's such a great title for your comedy special, Messing with People, because it's literally what you've been doing as a career for a long time. So for your stand-up now, for people who know the shtick, they know the deal when it comes to Impractical Jokers, is that type of comedy what to expect for your stage show, or should we expect a more traditional stand-up?
It's a more traditional stand-up, but for sure, the benefit of seeing me on TV was that I was me. You know, I wasn't playing a character. So if you saw my personality and saw what I was there, it's more of an explanation of how I became this person that I am. I called it Let's Get Into It because I'm obsessed with figuring out how people become the people they are, right? I was not this bold, crazy, loud person when I was younger. I was very opposite of that, super nerdy. I used to make tests for my father when he was at work, doing life insurance, selling life insurance door to door. For 10 hours, he would come home to a multiple choice exam I prepared for him. And I'd be like, pop quiz, Dad. Like this, that was the way it was. And I'm very far from that person. So I like to look at and see our journey and things that define your personality along the way.
Obviously one of the cool kids. So when it comes to this podcast, you're going to have to explain this title, Two Cool Moms with Steve. And you just kicked off the second season on iHeartMedia. For those who don't know about the podcast with Steve, break that down for us.
Two Cool Moms came from Steve and I are the consiglieres for our friend groups. We're the people that people come to get advice. We've always been that. And we think that stems from both of our mothers had very motherly, good instincts, told it how it was, and we like to think that we're like our two cool moms. So the first part of the podcast is a comedy podcast. We talk about anything and everything. And then the second half, we try to break down and solve fan-submitted dilemmas as best we can. Oh. So sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but it's always funny.
Oh my gosh, if they're sending you Dear Abby letters, that could get interesting, I tell you.
For sure, yeah.
And then you're a very busy man. You got the podcast, you got the stand-up that you're going on tour with, and now you get the children's book, your first ever children's book, Where's Barry? That's out now too.
Oh, so excited about Where's Barry. Yeah, it was stemmed from a story with my son. He had lost his stuffed animal. And any parent knows at bedtime, if they lose their stuff, it could be a catastrophe. So we had to go search for it. And luckily, we calmed him down, made him remember where he had hidden it, because he hid it underneath a pot, underneath the kitchen sink, all the way in the back. And we never would have found it, So I thought it was a fun story. Sent it over to Penguin Publishing Group. It got illustrated by the very talented Luke Flowers. And it really just came to life because I just sent over, words on a page, and he really made this great, vibrant piece of art, which has been so fun to have as part of my family tradition now. And as a dad, I like to read stories to my kids. So to be that for people is really cool too.
Anybody who's seen Impractical Jokers knows how relatable these guys are. If you had a crazy uncle, or maybe he's your dad or your brother, or somebody like Joe. And let's get into it, right? Kind of dives into how we became who we are. And it's happening at the Frauenthal Center right around Thanksgiving, actually. November 24th. You can check out Joe Gatto. Let's get into it right on stage. Ticket prices anywhere from the mid-30s up to $100. You can go to frauenthal.org to get more information. Joe, thank you so much for the time this morning.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.